Hey guys, I'm Darla. Today, I really debated on if I should even share this story with you guys. But you know what? It happened and it's real, and I figured why not? I'm just gonna go ahead and sit down and share with you guys my breastfeeding journey. So, let's start from the top. I definitely wanted to breastfeed my child, obviously. So, and this is my first kid. He's currently 9 months old. And anyways, we latched good initially in the hospital, but then he got jaundice. We had to stay for an extra night, and they told us that it would be a really great idea if we could supplement him some with formula to just kind of flush that out of his system. And so we did, and it helped, and his bilirubin levels went down, and we were able to go. So after he got used to being able to see what the difference is between sucking between the actual breast and a bottle, or it's obviously takes a lot more effort, especially for a little baby, to have to breastfeed versus just taking milk from a bottle. So we had a really hard time latching after that. For the next 6 weeks, I pumped every 2 to 3 hours, 24/7. I pumped, and it was very difficult. I gave him all of my milk. Luckily, I was making enough to where I didn't have to immediately have to pump, and that's all that I had to give him for the next feed. Like, I did have some stashed into the fridge and freezer. I was very blessed in that aspect. But it's obviously, I want to keep my milk supply up, and so I continued to pump every 2 to 3 hours. When I got to that 6 week mark, y'all, I was so tired of having to wake up, even there in the night, every 2 to 3 hours to pump. And I was like, this is not sustainable for me. So I was really debating on throwing in the towel and saying, I can't do this anymore. I was occasionally trying to latch him. I will say that, but it just wasn't working out. It was so difficult, and it was also so painful to get that latch. And I finally, I reached out to a friend who was in a similar situation with me as me, and she recommended, which I don't know why I didn't even think about this, to reach out to a lactation specialist and get a consult, go and see what we can do to make this breastfeeding thing work. So I did. She was really awesome. She came to my house and she corrected everything like that. He had a terrible latch. We fixed that. We made sure his lips were flanged out. That was awesome. We fixed my hold, the way I was holding him. That was awesome. I mean, it literally was life-changing just to be able to breastfeed my child, finally. Okay, so fast forward a few more weeks, we all get COVID, which sucked. I got so sick. I had to be on steroids and all these other medications that I could not breastfeed and do that at the same time. So I got really scared that my supply's gonna drop, and I just started getting in the hang of breastfeeding and was scared that that was going to be the end of my journey. Thank God it wasn't. I did continue to pump like normal, about every 3 hours at that point. I think I pushed it to 3 to 4 at the 10-week mark. I had to sadly dump all that milk, but it was important to do that because it kept my supply going and it kept my supply up. And thankfully, none of the medications messed with my supply. But I needed to continue to, empty myself regularly to keep that supply coming in, to tell my body to keep making more milk, okay? After I did that, I basically just if he was with me, I only breastfed him. I only pumped right before bed, and I pumped when I was at work. Other than that, if he's with me, he's on the boob. And that was that. And it made my life so much easier. So the pumps that I used, let me go ahead and talk about that for a quick second. I had an LV Stride, which was super magical when you're going to work, especially if you're a nurse like I am, and pump breaks are very hard to find sometimes. So to be able to have a pump that I could just throw in my bra and be on my way was super great. It's very worth it, worth every single penny. I loved this thing, guys. It worked wonders for me, okay? My pump that I would use, now obviously if you're using a mobile pump like that, you need to have like a normal pump. So I use the Motif Luna as I guess you could say my primary pump, like your regular pump, that I would use like at nighttime, like before bed or something like that. So anyways, all of a sudden, I want to say around 6 months, and it was probably when he started the solids that this really started to happen, I started having issues emptying with my pumps. And it was so strange. I didn't understand what was happening. It was like all of a sudden, I'd been using these pumps since day one, these same 2 pumps. All of a sudden, they were emptying like they were. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand this. Like, how does that even happen? I've never even heard of this. Still haven't heard of this. So I'm just like a freak of nature or something. I don't know. So it was really frustrating because I would be at work, and nurses work 12-hour shifts, and I would be struggling some days to be able to find a break. Sometimes I could only pump for once that whole time, for that whole 12 hours, because it was just so difficult. Now, that wasn't every day, but it did happen sometimes. I mean, it's hard to get people to watch your patients when you're balls to the wall. Anywho, so I struggled being able to get a good milk supply. My milk supply started dropping because of that, obviously. I wasn't pumping like I normally would when I was away from him, and I was working usually about 3 12-hour shifts a week, occasionally 4 if I did a call shift. But it was very frustrating. And then with my motif, my regular pump that I would use here, it also was doing the same thing. Like, I wasn't really able to empty my breast unless I was literally squeezing and pushing on it for the whole 20 minutes. And I'm like, this sucks. I hate this. Then about maybe a month later, I really started getting clogged milk ducts. And I was starting to get one here and one there. And then all of a sudden, I was getting them every week. And then I was getting them twice a week. And it would take a while, like sometimes days. I've had one that would last for 3 or 4 days to get out. And it was a nightmare. And then finally, when we were approaching 8 months, like a month ago, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm literally I always had a clogged, and it was switched between breasts. And I was like, I'm literally driving myself insane. Plus, he's getting upset because I went from producing at one point 40 ounces to like 15 ounces. So he would get upset thinking that if he was getting the boo, that he just wasn't going to get much, which of course I'd give him more afterwards, but he would just be upset knowing that there wasn't much in there like there used to be. So he kind of lost interest in it. And I finally decided that because of all of that, it was time to stop. So we just weaned him off right before 9 months, I weaned him off just before 9 months. And I'm really happy that we made it this far, because I do know that a lot of people don't get to make it that far. And breastfeeding is a lot of work. It is a journey that you go through. There are highs, there are lows. And if I had not had so many issues with starting with my breast not responding as well to the pumps anymore, and yes, I was changing out all of the parts on there, like the ducts. And I'd switch it out all the time regularly to make sure that my parts were fresh, that I wasn't using expired or old breast parts, to make sure that that wasn't an issue, that the tubing was staying, new, that it wasn't old. And that didn't make much of a difference either. So I was like, okay, I even got one of these, I forget what they're called, but they're like a heat vibrator thing that goes inside of your bra. And it's supposed to like help loosen up the milk. And that did help some. I mean, it was only good for like a couple breast pumping sessions. Like for when I was at work, I would use it. But it was just frustrating. I was always still getting clogged milk ducts no matter what. And I talked to 2 different lactation specialists, and they don't really know. So it's still to say, I don't know what happened. It does suck, but like I said, I'm thankful that I got to make it this far. So yeah, I just felt like maybe I should just share, you know, what I went through. And, you know, even though it didn't have, I will say it had a happy outcome because I got to make it to almost 9 months. I hate that it ended the way that it did, but you know what? It's okay. I think that you should applaud yourself for however long that you were allowed to go, whether it was for a day or for a week or for 3 months, whatever that was. The fact that you tried, I think is awesome. Okay, so never look down on yourself or compare yourself like I was originally doing, going, oh, my goal was a year. Look at my friends over here who made it to a year and I had to stop. Like, I still made it 9 months. That's awesome. And for you, if your situation is, I only made it for 3 months, that's awesome. Okay, so anyways, please comment down below. Tell me what your journey was like, or what happened with you, if you had multiples of them, how is one different from the next? I do plan on having more, so that'll be fun to compare to. Anyways, I hope you like this video, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe for more. It'd really help my channel out if you would subscribe. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye, guys.